the biggest fads in fitness, if you will, is strong abs, strong core, and that's wonderful and great, especially in the summertime. Um, and how many times do you really get to show off your core unless you're out on the beach? In the wintertime, we don't walk around with our six pack showing. Ultimately, what's more important is the internal. And it makes no difference if your muscles are really strong on the external, the ones you can see. The ones in the inside are the ones that really hold your body together and make you most stable. And, they could be kind of profound. You think about, ultimately it's the strength on the inside that's much more important than strength on the outside. So here's a couple of they're really not even like core moves, but these are just two moves that I like to do to help with my core stability. And one of my dogs is driving me crazy right now, of course. One thing that you can do is you can start on, you don't even have to be on a yoga mat, but so you start in your legs like a figure four. And as close as you can get your opposite foot to you. So, I mean, this is obviously a really, really nice hip stretch, but it's also a core movement. And so here, you want to get a straight spine best as possible. Ultimately, you want to think about getting the top of the pelvis to move towards your thighs. So you can do crunches all the time, but you want to think about trying to move the top of the pelvis a little bit forward. So the top of the pelvis sits like this. You want to tilt it forward a little bit. And certainly in a boat pose, if you ever take yoga, it's going to be something like this. But what happens is you want to think about sticking out your chest and moving the top of the pelvis towards your thigh. And so this is a nice little hip flexor stretch, not hip flexor. It's going to be a nice hip stretch right here. But then what happens when you try to move your belly button, the top of your pelvis towards your thighs? What happens if you maybe pick up one of your hands? You still keep moving your belly, moving the top of your pelvis towards your thigh. And now try to remove both hands, still trying to keep that same engagement. So you'll feel the core really working there. And then try it again on the other side. So a little wobbly on here, but I mean, it really doesn't matter so much, how close this foot gets, but the key is how close you can get your belly button or the top of your pelvis towards your thighs. You can do this, but hey, that's cheating. And you move the belly towards your thighs, sticking out your chest. When you feel your core engage, you'll feel the spine actually elongate. This is actually good if you have a little bit of sciatica. And then move the one hand, keeping the core engaged, and the next hand. So that's one. And then the other one I like to do is, so you always see, planks, and planks are like this or whatever. And then you also see this thing called bird dog or sunbird or whatever you want to call it. And what happens is you'll see that the toes are on the mat and the heel is up in the air. Okay. And bird dog is this right here. And that's really, really great. And that's a nice core movement, especially if you move your arm out to the side and move your leg out to the side like this. And I personally, I never get anything, like, I think that's the stupidest move ever, and I never do it. I just think it's dumb. But, it, hi, Colburn. If you do something a little different with your foot, okay? So make sure that your hands are really planted in deep. Now try to put the top of your foot onto the floor, okay? Now try to stabilize your hips. Try to keep your hips even here, right? I'm going to have to move my hands a little closer, a little further back. Now, think about trying to tip the pelvis backwards. So the top of the pelvis moves back. So, your pelvis is like this. The previous one, we had the top of the pelvis moving forward. Now think about moving the top of the pelvis back just slightly. It's not like a cat-cow. It's just something very, very subtle, and you'll feel it. So think about just tipping the pelvis backwards a little bit, the top of the pelvis, and you'll feel the core engage there. Press into the top of your back foot. Now, this is the hard part. This is where it really starts to engage. Now try to pick up your left knee. If it doesn't come off the mat, that's fine. So try to pick up your left knee. Mine is not coming off because I'm talking. So just trying to pick up your left knee off the mat, because I've taught yoga classes where you actually pick up the left knee off the mat, and that's good too. But see what happens when you flip your feet. Oh my God. So she's paying attention. So think about trying to pick up the knee, and it might not come off, and that's fine. And also think about your hips, the tops of your pelvis, trying to maybe like a drawstring, trying to cinch them together. That's also going to engage your core. So let's do the other side. So the top of the foot down. Plant your hands, start setting up. Think about drawstring the 2 points of your hips together. Try to steady your hips. Try to even your hips. Top of the pelvis moves back a little bit. And then try to press into the top of the left foot while trying to pick up your knee. So that is another little abs move for you. It's also a little bit of a quad for you. So again, you can do the toes down version of it, and that's, you can hover the right shin, but it's just a little bit more engagement when you put the top of your foot down. So those are two of many of the different types of core movements that I try to incorporate into my day, because it's really a matter of keeping your internal strong rather than trying to show off your abs. So hope that helps for you, helps you stabilize your back, stabilize your core, and maybe being strong on the inside. Take care.